WLRN Video presents.
Keep prison single sex! Keep prison single sex! Keep prison single.
On September 18th, 2021, 6 protests were held across Canada, 5 of which were at women's prisons. The 6th was held at the Elgin Street Courthouse, located in our nation's capital, Ottawa, Ontario. That was the one I attended. My name is April Neault. I've been a WLRN member for just over 3 years. In this video, I will share with you my experiences of that day, share some photos of the protests that were held in unity across our grand nation on that day, as well as provide some of my own personal commentary on why I feel these protests are necessary. Canadians from coast to coast gathered to protest the consequences of Bill C-16, which effectively allows men to violate the most vulnerable women, incarcerated women. That is, incarcerated men who identify as trans are being allowed to transfer to women's prisons. Condoms and birth control pills are now being dispensed at women's prisons across Canada. This WLRN member wonders why that would be necessary if trans women were real women. I suspect that is because everybody knows they are real men.
Keep prison single sex! Keep prison single sex! Keep prison single.
When not chanting or talking to citizens about why we showed up that day, I got to talk to many women about what brought them to that protest, why this was important for them, how they came to the conclusion that trans inclusion policies always meant less safety and rights for women, despite the rhetoric force-fed to us by every major media outlet. Each woman who shared her personal story with me blew me away at the depth and pervasiveness of the woman-hating ideology spearheading this gender movement. Women will not stay silent forever. The clip of the interview I'm about to share with you unfortunately isn't the best quality. We were, after all, on a public street, wind all around us, surrounded by other protesters and citizens. I've tried to adjust the sound the best I could. Here is an interview I captured with Shelley. Listen now.
Good job.
Oh, good job. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So maybe, did you want to just say, if you felt comfortable, saying your name and why do you think it's important to be here today?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Give it a go.
My name is Shelley. I'm here because although I went through all this stuff over 40 years ago, I have granddaughters. I'm not going to see them have less rights than I have now. That's why I'm here. I don't want to see men in women's prisons. I don't want all the cover-ups that go on. I don't want to see male-bodied people allowed into women's shelters, safe spaces, changing rooms, showers, bathrooms, any of that stuff. I do not want to see children indoctrinated into gendered ideology in school. That is not the job of schools. But I feel especially strongly about the prison thing. Because in prison, although Indigenous women comprise only 5% of the population, there's 43% of the population in prison. They're already abused, they're already traumatized. Allowing male-bodied people in women's prisons only makes it that much worse. That's why I'm here today.
Beautiful. So there's supposed to be about 7 of these protests across Canada.
There are.
And so is there any specific reason? Do you know why we've gathered outside of the courthouse? Do you know if there's any significance here?
Yes, well, as far as I know, we decided that we really wanted to support the nearest women's prison protest to us, which was in Joliet. There might have been decisions handed down in this courthouse of which I do not know, but we are here in Ottawa, that's our nation's capital. This is where the government has decided so much stuff and created so many terrible policies through stealth, including Bill 584. That is the bill that allows men to say, I feel like a woman, and go to women's prisons with no SRS, that's sex reassignment surgery, or even hormones. No, they just have to self-ID. That happened here. This government, the Trudeau government, in our nation's capital. So being in front of the Ottawa courthouse is a great place to be.
Amen.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say to the women across Canada or the USA who's fighting?
I just want to say one thing. We're all with you, but you need to wake up because it's later than you think.
Keep prison single sex! Keep prison single sex! Keep prison single.
Unsurprisingly, we were met with some backlash at the protest I attended in Ottawa. Nothing too serious, but these things can get ugly in a hurry, so it's best to be on our guard. Here are some photos of the protests in other regions across Canada on that day. It is the opinion of this WLRN member that if you come across the knowledge that men, violent or not, are being housed with women who cannot escape from them, and your first response is that we should have a nuanced discussion about it, your political views are fucking worthless and completely antithetical to those of a feminist. You cannot call yourself a feminist and advocate in favor of the laws, policies, and practices that allow men to be housed with vulnerable women. Women are allowed to have spaces without men. Women have the right to not be locked up with men convicted of violent crimes. Women have the right to organize based on the one commonality that binds us all, our sex. That immutable characteristic that men used for years to deprive us of the right to hold public office, the right to hold a bank account, the right to vote, the right to buy property, and now they want to take from us our hard fought for sex segregated spaces, to take away from us the brief reprieve from the endless onslaught of male entitlement and abuse they inflict on us daily. I don't fucking think so, sisters.
Les femmes ont droit à la sécurité!
Incarcerated women have already suffered familial abuse, rape, battery, poverty, and more at a much higher rate than non-incarcerated women. It is my opinion that to subject these women to further abuse, to lock these women up with no chance of escape, with men charged and convicted of violent crimes, is tantamount to torture. I also find it curious that advocates of affirming the identity of transgender inmates never appeared to be opposed to ordinary smaller men being raped and abused in male prisons across the country 10, 20, 30 plus years ago. Where was their outrage when smaller, more effeminate men, perhaps homosexual men, were being raped and abused previously? Why are they now so suddenly concerned with men being housed with other men? And most importantly, why is it up to women to right the wrongs of violent males? I may just be a country bumpkin, sisters, but even I know that you can only push women so far before the threats of being fired, threats of being physically assaulted and raped, threats of public defamation and frivolous litigations pale in comparison to the unadulterated anger that boils through us all when we see men violating women with impunity. These protests were a testament to that anger. Each woman I spoke with had seen the consequences for speaking up for the rights of women and girls, against the tyranny of gender ideology, for speaking through the noise of male supremacy, and yet we persist. Women will not stay silent any longer. A man can never be a woman. Even if 100% of women said that men could become women by virtue of cosmetic surgery or simply by saying so, it would still be verifiably wrong. No amount of threats will make me say otherwise. And the system of power that values men at the expense of women demands you never look and speak of what is happening to women, especially not to Indigenous women, not women of lower economic status than you, certainly not incarcerated women. The same system that values men at the expense of women demands that you never look at the sisters below you, never see their pain, never hear their stories, never ever empathize with them. I want to break that system forever. I want to smash it into 1,000 pieces until it is no longer recognizable. I want us all to look back at our sisters and be brave. I want us to speak of the horrors that are happening to women all across this country in the institutions set up for women that are now housing men on the basis of identity, and say no. No, you cannot violate women. No, you are not a woman, and I refuse to stay silent about it. I want you to use your voice even when it trembles with fear and anger, or a combination of both. To stop lying to protect the feelings of men. Because our sisters need our help. Because men's feelings should never supersede the safety of our sisters. Incarcerated women are being silenced by every major news outlet in this country. For absolute shame, CBC. Our sisters' voices are being drowned out by media outlets who lack the courage and morality to speak the truth. Because the truth is this: all across this country, women are suffering from gender ideology. Poor women, Indigenous women, are the ones taking the full brunt. When men get to define womanhood, I want you all to not remain silent. I want you all to see that this issue was never just about a bathroom. It has always been about the powerful taking from the powerless. Sadism so pervasive, it can be rebranded as a human right. The consequences are that women are being raped in Canadian prisons and crisis centers across this grand, beautiful nation of ours. They are being raped and deprived of the language to be able to describe the violation. Let us give voice to the women men tell us are useless and disposable. Let us give voice to the women men abuse and tell us to hold in contempt. Let us give them back the language to use to describe the violations men commit. Let us give a voice to all the women the corrupt media outlets like the CBC choose to ignore. Let's stop being silent about it together. WLRN has been breaking through that silence for 5 years, and I am hoping to create more and more Canadian content. I cannot thank enough the women who took the time to speak with me and who I hope to see at other protests across our large country. Huge thank you goes out to Heather Mason. You are a superstar. Thank you for your endless dedication to the cause. If you don't know who Heather is, I will link another video into this one to get you acquainted. We the Females for the signs, planning and communication, Cause Bar for doing the media strategy, even though there has been and continues to be a giant cover-up and silencing of the harms of gender ideology across Canada, and the WHRC for those amazing posters. The organization Women Matter, thank you so much. Alberta Women's Advocacy Association, Alberta Radical Feminists, Pour les droits des femmes du Québec, and last but not least, Keep Prisons Single Sex. Thank you all so much. This is April No, signing off for now.
I was born woman, off my knees I will stand for my liberation. Sisters rise again. I was born